Well, I want to thank our panelists again. Those were presentations that I think were so full of, chock full of valuable, or to use Alan's adjective, actionable information, that and the breakfast buffet, you've already covered your cost of admission. So everything after this is just gravy. But there's you all provide, you organized your presentations in such a way, I think, that you conveyed not just a sense of the good work that you're doing, but a very, very useful advice to people who are seeking grants or who are running grant programs and trying to come up with different kinds of selection criteria for how to best sort of give that money away in ways that will have impact. So again, I thank you all very much for that. As I was listening to the presentations, I did have a few questions, and I'm hoping to spark a little bit of conversation. You should feel free to sort of jump in. And I'm hoping, I think I speak for the audience as well. One of the questions that comes to mind, I'm trying to square something that Denise said with something that Jerry said. Denise was talking about, and I think other people mentioned, sort of needing to have money, whether it's cash or in-kind resources, before you come to the table. And then Jerry said that it's possible to go from like 0 to 60, that not having those funds shouldn't be a reason not to pursue funding. And it's been my experience, and maybe people in the audience as well, that it's often difficult to fund projects that don't already have funding, that funders are looking for some track record, they're looking for capacity, and if you're a new organization or you're an old existing organization or institution and you're moving into a new area, a new programmatic area, it often can be very difficult to figure out how you demonstrate enough capacity or that track record when you're really sort of, you're starting off a little bit more tabula rasa. And I'm wondering, I don't know, maybe Denise, if I could start with you, what advice would you give to an organization that is sort of venturing into a new programmatic area? What kinds of funders are perhaps more willing to take on some of that sort of startup risk? And what kinds of projects? Maybe you don't have to answer all of these, but I'm looking for everybody. What kinds of projects are really good catalysts if you're looking, if you're a new organization, like I said, or you're moving into a new programmatic area, what kind of advice would you give to folks?
Well, as I mentioned in the presentation, I think one of the most important things is to have a project have been identified in a plan, a coordinated, collaborated plan, hopefully with both public sector and private sector and not-for-profit. And there's always opportunities. Usually there's some partner who has a strength, has that administrative strength, and it might not be a local government or a regional planning agency. It could be a not-for-profit. As an example, I'm on the board of the Quad City Health Initiative and the Women's Leadership of United Way, and they recently went for a project very similar to Jerry's, where we wanted to train nurses in the Quad City area. And of the Quad City Health Initiative, United Way, and the Community Foundation of the Great River Bend that serves the Quad Cities, the Community Foundation had the staffing capacity and some internal experience in administering pretty large grant programs from national foundations. So the Community Foundation is the administrator of a successful Robert Wood Foundation grant. And so that is an example of where they chose the partner who had a strength. I think someone else mentioned that, to choose your partners who have strengths. I think Deborah mentioned that. And then you can pull the right coalition together and really key in on those funding.
Any other comments on the...
I was just going to mention, under the federal grant program, the Brownfields program, oftentimes you don't have to have the expertise. Maybe grant administration is something totally. Clearly, you got to know how to do that. But say, like some of our technical grants, the assessments, we provide you the funds to buy the expertise. So just keep that in mind. You know, that's something, and with a lot of these grants, you don't have to come to the table with that named already. You just have to say, I know I need expertise, and I'm going to procure it using, you know, consistent with the federal procurement regs and so on. So that's just another situation.
So it sounds like that strategy is related to some of the other issues that you all brought up, which was coming up with a regional or doesn't have to be regional, but in many cases it is, some sort of a collaboration, right? That it's very rare that one organization or institution can do this on their own. And so what you often find yourself doing is coordinating these different relations between different organizations that come to the table with either the track record or the expertise. I'm wondering how any advice that you would give to folks about how you ensure that those are successful collaborations. It sounds like you may hit a kind of watermark where you've brought too many people into the conversation, and then it can get very difficult to coordinate. I'm not looking for a sort of magic number, how many partners is too many, but as you go around trying to develop a grant program and you're looking for different organizations and entities that come with these different areas of expertise, are there any kinds of sort of foundational principles that you would say as you start to build those coordinations so that you can ensure that they don't implode down the road, or that they're successful, that these are organizations that will work well together?
Well, one thing, I did want to mention that there's nothing wrong with partnering with somebody who has experience as well. With a lot of the state dollars, at least, we get a lot of applications for our money, and we're very conservative when it comes to risk. And having a consultant brought in